Hey guys, Tasha here, and Spider-Man, you know him. Maybe. High school nerd gets bitten by a radioactive spider, giving him superpowers, and with great power comes great responsibility and all that stuff. But anyways, in this retrospective, I will be going over one of my Little Big Planet projects that I'm not really a fan of. TD Spider-Man Simulator. Here I will be going throughout the whole thing, from start to finish, but first here's some backstory before we jump in. I've been introduced to Spider-Man starting with the Sam Raimi movies, and ever since then, I fell in love with the superhero. I sadly never got the chance to read any of the comics, but I did watch all the movies, including the 2017 show. Is that okay enough to be a true Spider-Man fan? Around that time, I was playing Little Big Planet 2, and I did learn about his DLC costume from the Marvel Superhero Pack. I unfortunately never had the chance to get him since the pack got delisted by the time I discovered it. But now it doesn't matter anymore since I now have him thanks to mods. Even though I couldn't buy him at the time, it really didn't bother me at all. I just decided to recreate him with the stuff I had. I remember taking a picture of him, but that was long gone, so here's a recreation of how he presumably looked like. I also just want to quickly mention that I also created Deadpool in Little Big Planet. And I got introduced to Deadpool because of the movie. So that means I watched the movie when I was 10. But that didn't stop me from loving it. Years later in 2023, I rediscovered my love for Spider-Man, so I decided to recreate all of those suits from the movies. Here's all of them side by side. I then one day created a gameplay microchip for Spider-Man for fun, but then later decided to turn this into a game after being inspired by other Spider-Man levels because why not? And so was the project born. On June 5th of that year, I created a development post on a Discord server called Little Big Workshop. You may have heard of it through me, since I mentioned it quite a few times while working on my Astro's Playroom remake. So over time I would improve the microchip along with taking advice thanks to Little Big Workshop and the LBP subreddit. I then decided to name the project TD Spider-Man Simulator, with the TD part being an abbreviation of my username. I then created a logo out of it, inspired by the Sam Raimi logos. I was building the map bit by bit, and even created a custom suit for this project. Although there was this old version at first, which was more simple looking for a reason I will go through later in the video. Then there was the title screen. It was at first very simple, but then I later on updated it to make it look more super dramatic, with it largely being inspired by the Sam Raimi title openings. You can probably now sense a clear bias towards Sam Raimi Spider-Man. I then created a lobby for the game, which was supposed to be Peter Parker's apartment. Then on June 27th, I showed off this custom suit, which was completely original and a cute reference to something. I called it the Tasho's Tacos fan suit, with the name and overall concept referencing the unfinished movie by me and my boy, Truckus892. I mentioned that in order to obtain it, you have to help Chef Xavier to promote his fast food chain restaurant. Do it a couple times and the suit is all yours. But while I kept announcing updates and working on the game itself, there was something wrong that I should have been aware of before. When I started working on TD Spider-Man Simulator, there was a problem. The same problem I faced while I was working on my Sonic Adventure remake project that got cancelled a year prior. I was too overconfident to thinking that I could add so many cool features into a single level. I wanted to add side quests, boss fights, NPCs, dialogue, and more. I just kept forgetting that LBP3 is an old game, like a really old game, like this game will turn a decade old in a couple of months. And because of what I said prior, the more and more complicated stuff I'm adding at the start, the more and more the thermometer gets bigger easily, I'm starting to get a bit annoyed because of it already being halfway full or something, because obviously I can't just start adding all that detailed and complicated stuff. What was I expecting? The thermometer to not skyrocket afterwards? And sure, you could say that I could have used emitters to spawn chunks when needed, or turn dynamic thermometer on. But one, I wasn't really good at handling emitters in such a way at the time, only capable of doing simple tasks with it. And two, it's f***ing dynamic thermometer. I made it look like this project is like huge and will have lots of cool additions. Meanwhile, I wasn't really thinking about the consequences it might bring if I was just not careful with it. And so, the first problem I faced with was the ability to change suits. Since I already made suits before, I could obviously already use those. But then there was a thought, and I want to admit it, that I am one of those LBP players that doesn't like their stuff being stolen, which includes creations and costumes. That also explains why the first version of the custom suit was more simpler, just so I don't feel bad about it being stolen since it was made to look bad on purpose. So I spoke about it on Little Big Workshop, saying that I might scrap the custom suits entirely in favor of the official one. Someone from the server recommended me to just go with the official one, since it looks really nice in their opinion. And if I don't like that idea, then I could try to cram a lot of tiny decorations from DLCs that most LBP players don't have. But I decided not to do that, since I wouldn't go out of my way to a LBP shopping spree for something silly like this. And if that also wouldn't work for me, they also said to maybe watermark my costumes, but this also wouldn't work because not only would it look weird on gameplay in my opinion, the people who stole the costume can just easily remove it. At first I was ready to just abandon the custom suits entirely, but quickly changed my mind afterwards. Even with this concern, I still pushed the idea for changing suits, and will include the official one for the heck of it. On July 5th, I created a now deleted post on the Little Big Planet subreddit announcing a chance for 5 random suits to be added in the game, where the members of the subreddit can vote on which suit can be added by replying with the name of it. Days later, I announced the 5 suit winners on another deleted Reddit post, which was the Sam Raimi symbiote suit, the Spider-Man Noir suit, the Iron Spider armor from the comics, the Mark II armor, and the bombastic Bagman suit. After I announced the winners, I then decided to add the suits. Yeah, really great idea to add them after they were announced, without testing or seeing if I can already do that even prior to announcing the announcement of the 5 suits being added. But anyways, when I was done adding them and saving the game, something weird starts to happen. The game would crash and corrupt the moment after it started saving. At first I was annoyed, like, wow, okay, that's stupid. But I did back up beforehand, so it wasn't a big loss. So I went back and added them again. And when I started saving, yep, it's time to panic. And so I did, because I tried to add them at least 2 more times, and both of them still failed. I was completely annoyed, to the point that I thought that maybe it was the map that was holding it back. So I wiped away literally half of the map, then saved, went back to it, and then added the suits. And even after that, it wasn't even the map that was holding it back. It was the suits themselves that was preventing me from adding them in the game. After realizing that there was nothing I could do, I made a soppy announcement that I would be removing the whole suit changing feature, along with the deletion of half of the map. So rest in peace, Joe's Pizza. I then went on to focus on working on my project again, and by that I mean adding one last feature, which was the ability to fight criminals. They don't do much, they just smack you.
Wow, that was such sad news. If you don't mind, I'm taking over from here. Now, where was he? He then announced the release date on
July the 10th.
but he stated that he was too impatient, so he released it a day early. He then said, quote, "I published it and it didn't do so well. Sure, there was an okay amount of people who played it and hearted it, but overall, it probably was one of my worst performing levels. I didn't even announce the level being out on the LBP subreddit. I didn't do any kind of advertisement for the project's release. I was just mainly annoyed because of all the stuff I promised just not being here. I was so upset that the moment I published the level, I abandoned it straight up afterwards and went to continue working on my other project which was Little Big Planet, Astra's Playroom. It is such a disappointment that a few mistakes like that could lead to such a great disappointment, I guess. And now, for the conclusion.
Okay, I should be good now. Huh? Oh, hi. Did I miss anything? Wait, someone read the rest of my lines up until conclusion? Weird. I was expecting them to do some malicious stuff. Who were they anyway? Huh? What do you mean they looked like someone from a totally obscure news report about me? Whatever. Well, I guess since they read the last lines, I guess we can move on to conclusion. I started working on TD Spider-Man Simulator with high overconfidence and promises to myself. Instead, it was a rocky development time with multiple issues which causes multiple scrapped features close to release. I obviously learned from my horrendous mistakes while resuming back on my other project, because for example of this one, I had written down the amount of levels and adventure maps needed, which was nice, it kept the project organized. It just sucks that the story wasn't like that with my Spider-Man project because of me being arrogant. TD Spider-Man Simulator had a lot of potential, and I broke that potential by making the game very complicated from the start, instead of just starting small and then work up to it. I can't believe I just fucking said that. At least it spawned a few inside memes, thanks to my boy, Shruckus892. Yes! I did make a comeback to this project, but not for something astonishing, as you may expect. Only bug fixes and a logo change on the title opening. I indeed was planning a sequel to this project if I ever got the chance to finish my Astra's Playroom project, but that never happened because of, well... But if the server stuck around for just a little longer, then I could and would have made TD Spider-Man Simulator 2 superior to its first one in almost every single way. And that finally wraps it up for this retrospective. I apologize for the long wait for this retrospective, since I teased it along with the other 3 all the way back in April, which was 4 months ago at the time of me recording. Hopefully I'll upload the other 3 retrospectives with minor waiting times, but I doubt it since school is gonna start for me soon. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, because that took me forever to edit this video, and I can't imagine how long it would take for my Astra's Playroom 1. Oh boy. Make sure you like and subscribe if you actually like the stuff that I make. Big thanks to this random individual who recorded some lines for me, I guess. And I'll see you next time. Bye.